The story begins when the school bully insulted the main character and called him a beggar because he is given more money for daily expenses than he spends in a year. He threw a wad of money at him and called him a freak and told him to stay away from Jing. Wang's friends supported him and said how dare the main character compete for the most beautiful girl in class because Wang's uncle is the vice-rector. The whole class hated him and called him a beggar and a stinking dog. Suddenly, Mr. Li from an international company entered the class. Everyone recognized him because just yesterday the teacher told them about the incident that happened at their place. They didn't understand why one of the executives of Jiangzhou's main company came to their school. At that moment Mr. Li and his men bowed to the boy, whom the whole class mocked. Everyone was shocked and didn't understand what was happening now. The teacher told them that they probably made a mistake because Sun is an ordinary poor student from a small town. But Mr. Li told him to shut up, because Sun is the sole heir of the corporation. Wang was horrified. He didn't understand how this pauper could be the heir of an international company. At that moment Sun hit him and called him a freak. Then he walked over to the most beautiful girl of the school, he hugged her and kissed her unexpectedly for everyone. Jing did not know what to say, but at this time Sun told Mr. Li that it was time for them all to go and they left with him. She was shy and happy, but Wang was crying and could not accept his defeat. Walking down the hall no one knew how Sun went from a poor man to a rich heir. It was like this because Sun was a poor student just 20 minutes ago, but he saw the news that Qingyunzhou Corporation president was killed in a car accident this morning. Sun was upset when he read the news, but he caught himself thinking, what does he even care about this? But suddenly a paper was thrown at him by the class president who was considered the prettiest girl. A friend told him that there are many people in the class who use phones now, but for some reason she only noticed him. He said that she has been interested in him since first year. He asked why he doesn't react to it in any way. Sun said he did not care, but a friend said that so many people are jealous of him and he does not appreciate it. But in fact Sun could not start dating her because he had no money. At this point the strongest system was activated. It notified him that he can change a new identity every week. When he activates and does a new task he will get a random skill for a long time. This gave him the identity of Qingyun International Company chairman. At first sight Hebet at the same time he hides a serious position, the only heir of Qingyun Company, due to the death of the company's president. Today Sun officially succeeds him in this role. He has gained personality skills, such as, business acumen, leadership character and calm temperament. He has been given the task to find out the true death of the president of the company, and he will confront his deputy. Suddenly the teacher finished his lesson and Sun woke up and thought it was a dream, but at that moment Jing came up to him and angrily asked him why he was ignoring her. He tried to walk away from this conversation, but at that moment Wang came up to him and told him that he had warned him earlier not to go near Jing. After which, the events that were described earlier happened. Sun was convinced that he had indeed created a new identity and even other people's memories had changed too. At that time, the assistant vice chairman informed him that Mr. Li had already returned from Sun's school. She said that their people were a little late. He told her that there was nothing to be done, besides Sun is a little kid who can't do anything. Li informed Sun that Cheng is the deputy president and he was originally the first candidate for president of the company after the accident, but since Zhao left all the shares to Sun in his will, Cheng is not eligible to take over as president. Sun understood why the deputy began to hate him. The system gave him a month to find the true cause of Zhao's death, and Sun began to suspect Cheng of Zhao's death. Li informed him that Cheng was known for his ruthlessness, and he had many enemies, among them high-ranking positions, but they all disappeared mysteriously. He asked Sun to be careful, because he was only a student. Sun wanted to meet Cheng in person. He told all the trustees to go to the main entrance. The trustees were waiting outside and were very angry with him, but another employee told him to calm down, because it was an order from the new president of the company. But he replied that the new president had no ability or qualifications, and how could he even become president, because only Cheng could take the position. Some employees agreed with him and wanted Cheng to become president of the company. However, the old employees were against it, and Cheng wanted to remove them, after he became president of the company. After a while Sun arrived. He was greeted by Cheng cheerfully and introduced himself as the deputy, but Sun told him that he already knew all the necessary information about him. One of the employees saw a drink of tea and milk in his hand and said that he advised him to go back and continue playing computer games because business is war and he doesn't belong here. Sun laughed and asked what kind of dog it was, but Cheng asked not to call this employee a dog. The employee was furious and Sun slapped him. He said if this dog doesn't belong to the deputy, but dares to bark, it should be beaten. Then Sun scheduled a meeting in the conference room in 5 minutes. Cheng was very angry because Sun was not behaving at all the way he had imagined, so he decided to act just as rudely. Liao's secretary met them at the entrance. Li said that she was absolutely reliable, and if he needed anything, he could just tell her. Unexpectedly, he asked to make him 3 cups of tea in the conference room, but Liao didn't understand why he needed 3 cups of tea at once. 5 minutes later all the executives were in the conference room. Sun introduced himself and wanted to say that as of today he is the president of this company. But at that moment one of the executives interrupted him and wanted to bring up the subject of inheritance, but suddenly Sun threw a cup of hot tea at him and told him to shut up. Sun exclaimed, didn't his parents teach him not to interrupt other people? Then Sun continued and said that as of today he is president. He asked them who was for and who was against. He was ready to listen to everyone and go to their meeting, but everyone was scared. Mr. Li was happy that the former president chose Sun as his successor, because Sun was young but very charismatic. At this point Cheng told Sun that he was very young and showed great promise, and with such a director, the company would definitely succeed in many things, but there were tens of thousands of people working in the company and it would be useless to convince just the managers to do anything. But if he could achieve something incredible, like getting a big deal with Taishan Corporation, then no one in the company would dare question his abilities. Suddenly Li stood up for Sun, because the Taishans are their worst enemies and how dare he send Sun to sign documents with them. But Cheng threw a glass of water at him and said, how dare he talk to him like that? That moment Sun caught the glass of water and proudly said that he would take on this project. Cheng said that Sun is very courageous and asked him not to drag out this project and asked if 1 month would be enough for him. Sun said 1 week would be enough for him and announced the end of the meeting. He told Liao to go after him, but Li tried to stop him, because 1 week was not enough and it was impossible. After Sun left with Liao, Cheng thanked Li for bringing him here because now he could appreciate this idiot Sun. Chen and his assistants laughed at Sun and Li. And Li's assistants didn't understand how Zhao could choose this jerk, and they wanted to quit this company before it was too late. After a while, Sun asked Li to tell him about how President Zhao died. He said that Zhao had been in an accident and the police had already determined that it was an accident. But Sun couldn't believe it, because if it had been a normal accident, the system wouldn't have made him investigate it. Li said that on his way to the company this morning, President Zhao collided with a truck at an intersection and died. The driver of the truck was taking out trash from the construction site every day at this time, so the accident was not intentional. Sun asked where that driver was now. Li said that the driver has been detained and is now at the police station. Sun instructed Li to go to the police station right away and follow this driver, and most importantly. In a few minutes Liao brought all the information about the president of Taishan Company. His name is Nantian. Xiang began to study all the information and the name Nantian seemed very familiar to him. Suddenly he saw that his classmate Qin Gi's the daughter of the president of Taishan Company. At night Jing was sitting in her room and drying her hair. Her friends were discussing Sun, because he went from a loser to a handsome man, so also the president of the company. Jing noticed Sun wrote her messages and wanted to see her. She was very happy. She quickly got dressed and told her friends she would be coming soon. Walking down the street, unexpectedly someone hugged her and called her a hottie. She got really scared and threw his face on the ground. But it was Sun. Jing awkwardly asked him if he was okay. After which she asked him why she attacked her from behind. But he asked her why does she beat him if he sneaks up on her from behind, but does nothing when he approaches from the front to kiss her. Jing shyly asked, because he's been avoiding her for years, and today he acts very different. Sun replied, because before he was a poor tramp and couldn't provide for her happiness, but as of today he is no longer the poor Sun that everyone knew. Now he is willing to give everything, for her love. Jing didn't expect this and cried with happiness, and all the while thought that Sun didn't love her. He asked her not to cry, and asked if it was true that her father is president of Taishan Corporation. Jing told him that she had already told him that, 5 years ago her father set up his own business and founded Taishan. Sun replied that now he wanted a firm foothold in Qingyun Corporation and for that he needed her father's help. Suddenly he got a call and was told that the truck driver of the accident with President Xiao had passed away. Sun was not expecting this and said he would be here soon. He ran and told Jing that he would call her tomorrow morning. She was upset because she never got to talk to him about her feelings. Sun was in a hurry and was running across the road and didn't notice a car coming at him at high speed. But at the last moment another car hit that car and changed trajectory and their car quickly left the scene. As it turned out he was saved by Mr. Li. He got out of the car and asked if he was okay. After a while Jun informed Cheng that the driver couldn't hit Sun because Li suddenly appeared and saved him. Cheng said it wasn't that important, because he only wanted to scare him and he wasn't stupid enough to kill 2 company presidents simultaneously. Li and Sun arrived at the office. He realized it was a warning and someone wanted him to give up. Li was furious, because if he hadn't arrived in time the consequences would have been beyond repair. Sun asked for an account of what happened to the truck driver. Li said that the driver had actually been under control for a long time, but had suddenly passed away in the detention center, and when he arrived there, the driver was already dead. Also, the driver left a note that said he had no money to pay for the damage and had paid with his life. Sun asked where the driver's family lived. Li said that several years ago the driver divorced and lived alone. Sun told him to check it out, because if someone hired a hitman, the trump card that made the driver agree to give his life could only be a relative. Li got up from his seat and said he would find out right away. The next morning, Luz told her husband and Nantian that he only eats and does nothing else, and why is he not interested in his daughter at all? He asked what happened. Li Shu said that Jing runs after some boy every day, and yesterday, Xiaoqing waited for her all evening. She just refused to come back. Yun asked her mother why she has been yelling at her father since the morning. Xiaoqing asked, hasn't Jing come back yet? Mom said that Jing will be back soon, and told them to sit down to breakfast. She will hurry her up for now. Xiaoqing said if he really doesn't like Jing, he better leave. But Yun told him, how can Xiaoqing being a supervisor, lose to some poor student? Xiaoqing replied that it was just an asset not worthy of attention. Suddenly Jing came home with her boyfriend Sun. All the family members were shocked and didn't understand what the hell just happened. Sun introduced himself to them and told them that he was Jing's boyfriend. He came to them for the first time and didn't bring any gift and only brought some fruit. But his brother was very unhappy about this. He threw his fruit at him and told him to screw off from their house. Sun addressed as Jing's father and called him uncle. He said he had a great family, but did he not manage to raise his son? Yun wanted to hit him for those words, but his father told him to shut up. And turned to Sun and said he admired his flair for business. He asked why did he do such a crazy thing today. He said that Sun was no match for his daughter Jing and told him to get out of here. Sun wanted to answer him something, but Xiaoqing interrupted and asked to let him say a few words. He introduced himself and said he was a young executive of the Sangshan Steel Company, and that he would become president of that company in the future. This moment seemed very familiar to Xuanhe, assumed that Xiaoqing was about to pull out his bank card. And so it happened. He tossed him the bank card and told him that there was 1 million in the account, and told him to take it and get out. Jing told Xiaoqing why he was so eager to reveal his identity today, because he usually says he doesn't care about money and doesn't imagine himself as the head of Xiao's company. Xiaoqing replied that he just wants to point some people to their lowly place so they don't dream of a beautiful swan. Suddenly Sun picked up his bank card and Xiaoqing thought he decided to take his money, but at that moment Cheng put the bank card in his jacket and said not to throw away the money his father had earned through hard work. Father and mother were surprised by Sun's behavior. Xiaoqing was furious and said it was none of his business. After all, he was a young executive of a company with a market value of 30 billion. Xiaoqing told him to tell him about himself right in front of father and mother Jing so that they could choose who was worthy of their daughter. Sun calmly replied that he was the president of Qingyun Company. All the family members and Xiaoqing were shocked and did not expect it. But Xiaoqing did not believe him. He started insulting him and called him a bastard and a liar. At that time the news was on TV that yesterday, after the sudden death of the former president of Qingyun Company, a 19-year-old boy named Sun, also reported that the market value of his company is $130 billion. Father felt embarrassed because he didn't believe that either that Sun is president. Sun turned to Xiaoqing and said that he would be glad if they would cooperate in the future. He became very uncomfortable and said that he had urgent business and had to go. Sun told him that he came here on business, as his company hopes to cooperate with his corporation Taishan. And replied that he would never in his life have common business with Qingyun, and even if the man is an ordinary poor man he cannot hate him. But if the man is a representative of Qingyun Company then he never dares to come to his house. Jing asked his father why he was being so rude to him, but the father said it was out of the question. Sun said he had already sent people to find out the reasons for the conflict between Qingyun and Taishan. The mother asked the father why can't he do something good for his business, and asked Sun what he could find out about the conflict. Sun replied that according to his result when he and Mr. Zhao were young. But at that moment and grabbed his hand and asked him to be quiet. He said he was willing to sign all the documents with him. Cheng found out that and signed the contract and could not believe it. He was told that and was to give an announcement to the board in 2 days. He asked Cheng, what did he think about it? Cheng said it wasn't logical since Taishan had been feuding with their company for a long time. And how could he agree to some kid's demands? The aide said that maybe it was because Sun started dating Jing, An's daughter. Cheng was furious and asked why no one told him such important information. The aide said that he himself just found out about it. He asked Cheng if he wanted to follow through on his case. Cheng said there's no need to do anything. After all, Sun is just a kid, and he won't panic because of him. Besides, he's already figured out how he can handle him. At this time, the system informed Sun that there are 4 days left until the deadline. It told him to complete the task as soon. Sun was surprised, because it turned out that it was much more important to know the truth about Zhao's death than signing a contract. At that moment Li ran to him and said that he found out something extraordinary. The truck driver has a daughter. 3 years ago she went to study abroad, and since then he started working as a driver at a construction site. Sun realized where he was going, because as an ordinary truck driver suddenly had money to send his daughter abroad. Sun realized that the killer is very smart, because he probably planned everything 3 years in advance. Li agreed with him, because they still can't find the source of that money, and since the enemy is very cunning and ruthless, he hired Sun bodyguards, who will walk with him all the time. He said that now he has nothing to worry about since all the bodyguards are elite and ex-military from the Special Forces squad. Sun was shocked and thanked him for this favor. He asked all the bodyguards to come out since he had a question for Li. Sun pulled out a picture of all the leaders and asked him who was the tall man and why wasn't he at the last meeting. Li said that this man's name is Liao Jun. He is not a board member, but a very close person to Cheng. It is said that many embarrassing things Cheng does is through Liao. Li asked him if he wanted to start an investigation with him, but Sun said that he just asked. At this time the secretary was passing Liao in the hallway. He asked her why she could not say hello when meeting with him. She told him to stop following her around the company. He told her to stop talking nonsense, and he had urgent business for her. He wanted to contact her outside the company, but she wouldn't take his call. She replied that it was not her job to help him. But suddenly he grabbed her and said how dare she talk to him like that, because if it wasn't for him she wouldn't be able to be secretary to the president of the company. He said if he wanted to he could make it so that tomorrow she would be kicked out of this company. He told her to listen to him carefully. Because if she didn't want him to die, she should help him. After a while Sun came out of the office, and he told the security guards that they were free as he was going home. But they vigorously exclaimed that they were going to walk him home. He passed the secretary and she asked him to give her a ride home. Her car broke down, but if he had urgent business, she would call herself a cab. But Sun said she didn't need to call a cab and he would only be happy to drive her home. After he gave her a ride home, he wanted to go into her house, but Sue asked him why. He asked her if she wouldn't give him a glass of water as a thank you. The bodyguards wanted to go into her house too, but another bodyguard stopped him, saying that apparently Sun would be drinking water all night and they shouldn't distract them. When they went into her house, Sue got uncomfortable. It was like a mess. He told her that when he lived in the dorm it was much worse. He saw her bra and said that apparently she was wasting all her energy working. But she grabbed the bra from his hands and asked him not to touch her stuff. She picked up the medicine and remembered what Liao told her. He asked her to find a way to be alone with Sun and let him drink the medicine. After which, Sun should have passed out and she should have taken a picture of him with no clothes on. She added the medicine to the water and walked over to Sun. He asked her where her mother was now. She said that her mother was now in her homeland. Sun took the glass in her hands and asked her what was her connection to Liao Jun. This point she got really scared, because her last name was also Liao. She told him that she was not related to him in any way and they were just namesakes. He believed her and drank the water, after which he was about to leave. The medicine had not worked yet and she had to stop him. She said that she had a question that she wanted to consult with him. Sun stopped and said that apparently she didn't want him to leave her today. He sat down on the couch and asked what her question. At this time the bodyguards were standing outside and Sun texted them to turn off the internet in this house within 5 minutes. The bodyguard told the three to pull all the internet cables coming in and eliminate the signal from all the towers in. Sun asked her what question she wanted to ask him. But she was silent, and Sun initially knew that she had given him the drug, but he wondered if she knew it was an aphrodisiac. She asked him if he wanted to sleep. He then became convinced that she herself didn't know what the pill was. He assumed that someone had tricked her into giving her an aphrodisiac, while she thought it was a sleeping pill. Sun thought if she herself didn't know what the pill was, then they were being watched by those who knew what kind of pill it. Sue wondered why Sun wasn't falling asleep, because his face had changed a lot. She thought she had added too much. At that moment a hidden camera was turned on in one of the outlets. Liao and his aides were happily watching this and to see what their new president is capable. She walked up to him and felt that he had a fever. She wanted to take him to the hospital. But when he saw her up close he was almost out of control. He took his phone and saw that there was no connection inside the house and no internet. Everyone who was watching this was very angry because the most interesting thing was just about to start. At that time Sun put her on her back and explained to her that she was very stupid, because she didn't understand exactly how she was going to be used just now. Suddenly he went to another room and told her to bring lots of ice. Sue asked him, exactly how was she going to be used? After a while the bodyguard came home and asked where Sun was now. Sue said he was taking a shower right now. He told her, "Does Sun get to be the kind of person who does it really fast?" That moment Sun came out of the shower and the bodyguard told him that he was still young and didn't know all the ins and outs of how to do it right, but Sun told him to shut up and get busy. Sun said there was a hidden camera in the room. The bodyguard came up to Sue and threateningly asked, was she really going to secretly record everything on video, but she said she knew nothing about it. Sun told the bodyguard to find the video camera, and asked Sue if she knew what the drug was. She said she was given sleeping pills. He told her, did she think that if she took a picture of him without his clothes on it would be enough? Sun told her she was given an aphrodisiac and they wanted to put her under it. Sue couldn't believe it, but at that moment the bodyguard found a hidden video camera in the socket. Sue stood stunned and didn't understand why they wanted to set her up so sneakily. Sun told her that her own father was willing to sacrifice his daughter's honor, for his own selfish purposes. She asked him in surprise, how did he know that? He replied that he just made his guess out loud and apparently the guess was confirmed. Sue told him that Liao Jun was really her father. 15 years ago he left her with her sick mother and went to another woman. 3 years ago she came here to work, and she had no one here. Because of this she was desperate, but suddenly she met him. By then Liao had already held one of the lower management positions in the company. He helped her get a job, and so she was able to avoid starving to death in the alley. Sun asked her, but you still cannot refuse his request. The bodyguard told him that he found 3 more hidden cameras in the bedroom and 1 in the bathroom. He said someone was going to mix the president's good name with dirt. Sun asked her after seeing all this, did she still have doubts about her father? She cried and said she didn't believe it, because maybe he too had been misled. The bodyguard called her a silly girl, but at that moment Sun asked him to stop. He said he was going to eliminate Cheng, but to do that he first had to find a way to get to Liao. To do that he needs her help. He told her if she didn't want it, he wouldn't force her. After a while Sun and his bodyguards left. At this time Sue started to remember how she had been fired from various jobs and called her unnecessary. But the only one who came to her rescue was Liao, so she decided to give him another chance. She was about to enter her father's office, but heard him talking to his friends. His friends told him that they had met many ruthless people, but Liao is on another level. After all, he had turned his own daughter into a pawn and led him on for 3 whole years. Sue heard that her father purposely asked the bosses of all the companies not to hire her, and when Sue was totally desperate, he showed up and reached out his hand. Sue heard the whole conversation and was hysterical. Her friends asked him if he could show them the hidden camera footage. He replied that he would send people to get the memory cards and then he would send them the video. The bodyguard asked him why he didn't get rid of Sue, since she betrayed him in the most brazen way. He replied that people have the hardest time breaking up with family, and he is only her boss, so why would she betray her father instead of him? But he was more surprised by the fact that even the secretary turned out to be Cheng's man. Bodyguard said he could not worry about them, because he and his guys are firm in their loyalty to him. Sun replied that he was happy with the way they were doing their job and he trusts them 100%. Bodyguard thought, because Sun at such a young age runs a multi-billion-dollar company and yet is able to unconditionally trust his subordinates. At the same time, he is surrounded by strong enemies, but does not show a drop of fear, while constantly keeps a working attitude. He noticed that his eyebrows were slightly tense and thought that Sun was solving serious business problems. But at the same time Sun was watching some girl stream. He thought, can every ugly girl stream nowadays? Late at night Sun returned home and asked his bodyguard to pick him up tomorrow morning. He only had 2 days to complete the task, but he found it strange that he didn't panic at all. He had to deal with serious problems, but he solved them with a cool head. Sun assumed it was all because the system had given him such a temperament. He was about to enter his house, but at that moment Sue ran up and said she wanted to talk to him seriously. Sun told her to go inside and she told him that Liao was just a dog and he had been using her all these years and she was just his pawn. She said that such creatures don't deserve to live on this earth, because Liao was willing to ruin her and now she wanted to repay him in. Sue said she was willing to do whatever Sun said if it would help him get revenge, even if she had to sacrifice herself. Sue told her if she would help him, he would not require her to sacrifice herself, but he would help her accomplish what she wanted and she could get revenge on her father. The next morning, Liao came out of his house and called someone by phone. He told them to wait for Sun to leave before going in. He needs them to get all the cameras. But at that moment Sue came up to him and held out her hand with the cameras. She asked him if this is what he was looking for. She asked him, "What does this mean?" because not only did he cheat her with the drug, he also installed hidden cameras. He apologized to her and said it was all because of Director Cheng. He wanted everything to go perfectly but gave him the wrong pill and installed hidden cameras in secret from him, and when he found out it was too late. Liao asked her, was it really Sun who discovered those cameras, but she told him to go inside as she was tired. They went into his house and he asked her what happened Sun and did their plan work. But suddenly they were met by Liao's wife. She asked Liao who it was. He told her it was his work colleague. Sue told him it would be better if they talked in his office, because she didn't want to see this woman. They went into his office and she remembered Sun's words. He said to make the game break, she needed to get to his computer. She gave him the video camera and he asked where the memory cards were. But Sue didn't want to give them away for nothing and demanded 8 million from him, otherwise he won't get anything. Liao was at a dead end, because she has everything he needs and without it, he can't destroy Sun. But he didn't want to pay 8 million and said he had to consult with his boss. He went outside and called Cheng. Sue put a flash drive in his computer. She installed a virus. At that time Sun and his programmer found by his bodyguard was trying to find something valuable in Liao's computer. He managed to find one hidden folder, but it was locked with a password, but it was no problem for the programmer. At this point Liao was returning to the room. Cheng was ready to wire him money, but told him to wire her money after he checked the video camera records. He entered the room and saw Sue standing by his computer. He asked in surprise, "What is she doing?" She said he has no conscience because he didn't put her and Mom's picture on his desk. Liao told her to stop talking nonsense and demanded to see the camera tapes because he has the money. But she refused and demanded money from him, and after that she would show him the tapes. Liao told her not to try to cheat him or she would become his mortal enemy. He wired her money and told her to show the tapes immediately. Sue answered him, since he was her father, she would not allow to see such a thing involving her because he just wanted to ruin Sun's relationship with Jean, and told him that she had already sent this video Jing. Liao was furious with her and grabbed her. He told her to give him the tapes or she would not go anywhere from his house. At this time, the Yin family arrived at the main office along with their daughter Jing. Cheng told his assistant to notify everyone that an interim board meeting was about to begin. She came to Sun and informed him that the meeting would begin in a few minutes. Sun stood up proudly and thought it was time for a decisive battle. At this time, Liao told Sue that he didn't have time and he gave her one last chance for her to give him the memory cards. At this point, Cheng called him and told him that An had just arrived at the company with his daughter. Sue told him, because she talked about what she had sent Jing notes. An started yelling at Sun. He said that Qingyun company disrespected Taishan so much that its president Sun cheated on his daughter. He said that if he thinks he can keep dating his daughter, he is a total moron. Cheng was happy about this turn of events. Sun asked him to calm down and if he has something to say, they can talk about it privately in his office. Cheng said Sun being a board member he was unreasonably accused, which means they should all together demand justice. An said, told all reporters to come into the office if everyone wants justice so badly. The guards tried to stop the journalists, but Cheng told them to let them in, because the presence of the media would serve as proof that their company's good name is not afraid of slander. Sun asked him, "Do they really have to go along with this?" Cheng replied that he just wants to give him a chance to whitewash his reputation. At this point, Jing showed her laptop screen and told everyone that the true picture of what happened could be seen on this screen. At this time, Liao came running into the office and Cheng said, "This is what happens to those who wage war on him." Jing turned on the recording on her laptop where Cheng was talking to Liao about Zhao being too much of a nuisance and he should be killed in the next couple of days. Liao said that the truck driver is ready and can do it tomorrow lunchtime. Cheng and Liao stood there in a stupor. Cheng told them to turn off the recording immediately and told all the journalists not to film this. The journalists realized that the shooting of President Zhao was not accidental, and it was all planned. Cheng told the guards to immediately stop all the journalists and break their phones and cameras. Sun told his bodyguards that it was time for them to act. He told them to take all the guards out so they wouldn't interfere with the journalists. After a few minutes the bodyguards handled all the guards with no problem. Cheng indignantly asked Liao how dare he install a hidden camera in his office. Liao said he recorded their conversation on purpose, for his own safety. But his daughter Su set him up. A few minutes later Li brought in the cops. They said Su and Liao were suspected of organizing Zhao's murder, and now they would have to go with them. After a while it was over and Jing happily said they had played their roles very well. The system alerted him that the mission had been completed successfully and to get a new identity he has to give the command. Sun got a new identity, Best Killer. Now in addition to his position as president of Qinyun Company he has another secret killer identity nicknamed Overlord. Traces of his work are seen all over the world. His name is passed from mouth to mouth by military dictators, barons and politicians. No matter who he starts hunting, the victim could never escape him. He later decided to resign to live a quiet life, but his enemy was on his trail and soon his peaceful life would be over. Sun gained personality skills as stealth, camouflage, shrewdness, minimal healing skills, excellent shooting and hand-to-hand combat skills. His mission: he had to solve all the trouble of the new personality and survive. There is no time limit for the mission. The system warned him that once extracted the personality would act constantly. Once the assignment is completed, the skills of the personality will remain with him forever. After a while, Li informed him that the police had confirmed the authenticity of the video, which meant that they could not escape the charge of premeditated murder and faced at least life. But suddenly Sun said he wanted Cheng and Liao to be sentenced to death so that there was no further uncertainty and told Li to arrange it. Li could not refuse him, because Sun met a nemesis for business and takes the opportunity and destroys the problem physically. Although Sun is young, but in determination few can compete with him. Sun threw 5 papers and threw a pen at them. He managed to pierce 5 pieces of paper with a single throw of the pen. This was the skill of a first-class assassin. Sun approached his bodyguard and said he wanted to challenge him. He stood in shock at this offer. He asked to hit him with all his strength, and the bodyguard could not refuse him as Sun insisted on it. He swung around and punched him in the shoulder, but Sun didn't even feel the impact, but the bodyguard fell to the floor in pain. He said Sun was like wearing armor and said that he seemed to have broken his arm. Sun decided to find a sparring partner elsewhere and went to a boxing competition. He was an ordinary spectator, but he saw people fighting in the ring and was very disappointed. He said out loud that it would be too easy to induce them. But a pumped-up boxer heard this and asked, "What did he just say? He personally raised these fighters, did he ask Sun, or did he just say some nonsense?" Sun answered him that he wasn't here to shout nonsense from the audience. He looked at the boxer menacingly and said that he was absolutely serious, that he would have easily beaten them. With those words he made the boxer angry and he told him to get in the ring with him. Once in the ring he exclaimed how a wimp like Sun had the nerve to say such nonsense. He said that if he lost to him today, he would immediately close this boxing club. Sun told him not to overdo his pathos, because it's only a sparring session. Suddenly Xiaoqing came there. As it turned out, he was the one who invested a lot of money to open this boxing club. He saw Sun standing in the ring and thought, what the hell is he doing here? Before the fight, a man from Xiaoqian approached the boxer. He told him if he beats Sun, Xiaoqian will give him 1 million. He was happy about this condition, as with this money he will be wealthy for life. Xiaoqian asked what the trainer had to say about this fighter. He said that he brought him in from overseas for a fortune. His nickname is Wild Monster, and he used to fight illegally. He said that it wouldn't take him 10 seconds to break Sun's nose. At that moment, Wild Monster swung and wanted to hit him with all his might, but Sun easily dodged his attack. Xiaoqing started getting worried, but the coach asked him not to get nervous, as what just happened was nothing more than an accident. Sun said that he wanted to test his strength and fighting skills and told the boxer to hit with all his might. He was furious at him and exclaimed that Sun had made the worst mistake of his life. And since he asked for death from his heart, he would not deny him. The trainer saw that his fighter was very angry and said that now there was no stopping him. Xiaoqing said this is what happens when someone takes his beloved girlfriend away. The wild monster began to deliver a series of punches, but Sun dodged every one of his attacks. He asked him if he could punch faster or was that all he could do. He replied that Sun acts like a rat and runs away from him all over the ring. He exclaimed, could he hit him just once? Sun didn't want to punch him in the face, so he decided to punch him in the arm the moment he would attack him again. He caught the right moment and hit him right in the arm, and the wild monster's arm broke. Everyone was shocked by this, as no one would have thought this could happen. Sun himself did not expect it that he himself became so strong. Xiaoqing wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible, but suddenly Sun addressed him through the big screen. Xiaoqing stopped and Sun approached him. Xiaoqing was really scared and was surprised to say it was such a coincidence and asked him what he was doing here. The guards told Sun to keep his distance, but he grabbed them and turned to Xiaoqing. Sun said he heard everything, when the trainer told his fighter that Xiaoqing was willing to pay him $1 million if he beat him. Xiaoqing said in fear that it was nothing more than a coincidence. Sun warned him to make it a first and last time because he's not interested in him, but if he keeps scheming against him, he'll kill him. Then he let him go and left. Xiaoqing and his men bowed before him and wished him well. Viewers saw this and talked about how Xiaoqing's tough guy image had crumbled and he was a common coward. Sun called his girlfriend and offered to have lunch together, but she said that she was at school now, and that if he continued to skip classes, he would definitely get expelled sooner or later. Sun replied that he had already talked to the rector, and next week he would donate 3 million to the university to establish an educational foundation, and the rector in turn will help him with the session. At this time Sun was being watched from the roof of the building. The girl would never have thought that the overlord would be so young, but the guy told her that he didn't care, because soon he would be a corpse. After all, he had spent a long time to find him, but suddenly Sun noticed them. The girl nervously told him that he seemed to notice them. The guy didn't understand how he could have noticed them from such a distance. Sun thought it was Xiaoqian sent someone to get his head, but he realized that Xiaoqian would not have had time so quickly. He guessed it was his old enemy's his new identity. He called his bodyguard and told him to increase his security. After a while he reported back to him that he had added 30 men to the guards, and they had also installed infrared sensors around his villa to guard the perimeter. And now if anyone comes near here, it will be immediately known. Sun thanked them for their good work and allowed them to rest. His enemies saw that Sun had increased his guards and thus they realized that he had found out about everything. The girl said that no wonder he had retired, since he resorted to such primitive methods of securing himself, and when the best among the best is no longer. At this time Sun thought, because using such methods of protection should increase their vigilance and should convince them that there is cheese in the absence of a serious mousetrap. and after that break their backbone in one motion. But the main question is how to choose the best moment to lure the snakes out of their burrows. Suddenly someone called him on a hidden number. He picked up the phone and called him Lord and asked how he was doing. Sun recognized his voice. It was Tony. He was the Lord's agent, but he didn't understand why he suddenly contacted him, after all the Lord had gone to live a quiet life. Sun asked him how he had the guts to call directly to his number. After all, in their business you don't do business that way, he asked, or did he forget the rules? Tony happily replied that he went against their rules for a reason, because there was a big order for him, and an easy one at that. Sun was curious about the offer and asked to hear more about it. Tony said that the target was just in China, right near him, and the most important thing, the customer was very generous and willing to pay $3.5 million. Sun was shocked, and asked how serious the target must that the customer is willing to give such a huge amount. Tony said his target is only the president of one corporation, and for him it will be very easy. He said that the target information will send him an email. Sun opened his email and were horrified, as he saw his picture and information about himself. At that time Tony was relaxing on the beach with beautiful girls, and after a while Sun called him. Tony asked him if he was interested in the offer. But at that moment Sun told him to tell him the name of the customer immediately, who ordered the killing. Tony didn't understand why he demanded the name of the customer, and besides he couldn't talk about it. But Sun said one way or another he would still get what he wanted. He asked Tony if he didn't think he would get it. Tony was scared for his life and said he would definitely tell everything he knows about the customer. Tony said that the customer is Han Xiaoqing. He is the son of a group owner. Sun laughed angrily and exclaimed that this son of a bitch Xiaoqing is looking to die. Suddenly his girlfriend came to him and asked what he is doing here and why he can't be reached. He asked her in surprise, what is she doing here? She was very angry at him, because he offered to have dinner with her as a thank you. Jing grabbed his hand and said does he imagine how difficult it was for her to book a table at that restaurant, and if they miss it now, he will have to compensate her. Sun awkwardly replied would definitely make it up to her. They went outside and Sun told the bodyguard to take some helpers with him and tell them to follow him. His enemies saw Sun leave the house and the guy asked the girl if they should follow him, but the girl said there was no point, and it was too early to make their move today. Because judging by his actions he had already spotted them, and now they needed to wait for reinforcements. Sun and Jing arrived at the restaurant and found that they had missed their table, as they were half an hour late and now the next reservation will only be available a month later. At this point Sun was talking to someone on the phone and she asked him what he was doing at this. He told her that he was buying this restaurant and they would have dinner here tomorrow. 10 minutes later they arrived at her house and she asked him to wait as she wanted to make him some noodles. He asked her if there was nobody else home besides the two of them. She said her brother was abroad and her mother and father were in a meeting. Suddenly he hugged her and she shyly asked him, what was he doing? He looked into her eyes and kissed her. She didn't know how to react to this and asked him to stop. Jing said she wasn't ready, but Sun said she had nothing to fear and kissed her again. But unexpectedly mother and father came home and turned on the light. Sun and Jing jumped up from the couch and she asked her parents, aren't they supposed to be in a meeting now? Her father nervously told her that the meeting had moved. Sun said that they just got it all wrong, because they were just looking for the light switch in the dark, tripped and fell on the couch. Her father yelled at him and asked, did he unzip his fly to make it easier to find the light switch? He asked if he thought he was stupid. Sun replied that his pants were just low quality. Sun was very embarrassed and said he had to go as he had other things to do and said good night. When the bodyguard went outside he was surprised and asked why he had finished so quickly again. Sun nervously told the bodyguards that they were dismissed and told them to get the hell out of here. He got in his car and didn't understand why the assassin still hadn't shown up. Since he had already let the guards go he thought he wouldn't be able to meet them today to vent his nerves. But he remembered he still had Xiaoqing to vent his nerves on. He arrived at his hotel and there were two guards standing near the entrance to the room. Sun asked them, "Is Xiaoqing there?" They told him it was none of his business and told him to get the hell out of here. But at that moment he hit the first guard. He flew away a few meters. The second guard didn't understand what just happened and Sun thought he should learn to control his power. The guard pulled out his gun and wanted to shoot, but at the last moment Sun stopped him, and thanks to his gun skills she blocked the mechanism so the guard couldn't take a shot. Then he hit him and the guard lost consciousness. At that time Xiaoqing heard strange sounds behind the door and didn't understand what was going on there. He opened the door and exclaimed that if they didn't shut up now he would break both their legs. But only Sun was standing by the door and he greeted him happily. Xiaoqing stood in a stupor and asked in surprise, "What is he doing here?" Sun said it was a personal matter and told all the girls to leave this room. He said that Xiaoqing must be full of energy since one is not enough for him. Xiaoqing said if he is interested, he can personally choose some elite girls and send them to his address, after which Xiaoqing apologized again for the incident that happened this afternoon during the boxing. But Sun told him that he didn't come because of what happened this afternoon. At this point, backup for Xiaoqing came to their room. He hid behind their backs and said how dumb you have to be to come to him alone. Sun laughed and said it was like he was waiting for him to visit. Xiaoqing exclaimed that he publicly shamed him. Did he really think he could get away with it? He only recently managed to gather these people to deal with him, but for some reason he came here himself. Sun was only happy about this, because if he had taught Xiaoqing alone he wouldn't have had the feeling of victory. Xiaoqing said that even before death he wouldn't shut his mouth. He told his men to beat Sun so that he couldn't smile anymore. They started attacking him but Sun handled everyone with ease. Xiaoqing got scared and told them to grab him. But in just a few seconds all his men were already unconscious. Xiaoqing was horrified and asked him who he even was that he could handle so many armed men in a few seconds. Sun handled the last bandit and asked Xiaoqing if he had any other options left. Xiaoqing replied if he has the courage, let him kill him, otherwise they won't finish with him, because even if he is not killable, can he guard his girlfriend Jing around the clock? After all, he only has to call one person once and she will be kidnapped and a couple hundred men will take her around. Xiaoqing exclaimed to him that stop hitting him. Sun told him that if he touches Jing, he will find 100 ways to make his life worse than death. Xiaoqing said he's not afraid of him, because he is only the president of the company, or does he already think he's a god? Sun said that his worst decision in this life is to spend $3.5 million for his head. Xiaoqing was in a stupor and did not understand how he knew about it, because he turned to an elite agent and only Agent Tony and a killer nicknamed Overlord could know about it. Sun grabbed him and told him that he is the Overlord. Suddenly someone shot at them and Sun managed to react with a dodging shot grabbing Xiaoqing behind him. Sun asked him in surprise, did he put his men on guard too? Xiaoqing was horrified and answered that his men wouldn't shoot at him in rapid succession. Sun decided to check it out and grabbed Xiaoqing by the hair and lifted his head, and at that moment the sound of gunshots rang out again. Then Sun became convinced that it was a completely different people, because if they were Xiaoqing's men, they wouldn't have shot him. Sun assumed they were the killers who had followed him this afternoon. He saw them on the roof of the building opposite the hotel. The killer saw Sun running out of the room, but before he did, he threw a red cloth that signaled the start of the duel. Killer aimed for the hotel exit waiting for Sun, but after a while he was shot in his left shoulder. He was confused by the fact that he was shot with a chopstick. As it turned out, Sun came out on the roof of the hotel, launched the food stick at him as if with a rifle, and also hit him from 250 meters. The killer understood why he was called a lord. The killer threw a smoke grenade and Sun thought, did he really decide to escape at the slightest difficulty? Killer stretched out a rope and started to run away, as the Overlord appeared to be too strong, for if he could take him out with his chopsticks, what else could he do? But on the other floor of the building Sun was already waiting for him and kicked him in the stomach. Killer pulled out his gun and started shooting at him, but at that moment Sun had already dodged his shots and suddenly disappeared from his sight. Then Sun kicked him in the face and said that compared to him he was just a turtle. Sun grabbed him by the throat and asked him who sent him to him. The hitman said that he wasn't considered the king of hitmen for nothing, because he had just made sure of that. Sun gave him 10 seconds to tell him who sent him to him, otherwise he would miss his chance to stay alive. He wanted to say the name of his employer, but at that moment he pulled out a knife and tried to stab him, but Sun reacted and let him go. After which Sun said that he didn't care because he could find his employer without his help. But at that time the help arrived below and the killer fell on the roof of the truck. The helpers started shooting at Sun. The girl got out of the car and told him to catch him immediately and not let him escape. She told him that he was badly hurt, but the hitman said he had a few broken bones and it was nothing serious. The helpers went up to the roof, but reported that no one was there anymore. The girl was furious, because they had just missed the legendary overlord. The guy told her that they needed to get out of this place as soon because the police will be here very soon. He told her that the Lord is a very scary man and they need to be extremely careful, but the girl told him that after they come back, he himself will have to justify himself to the boss. Then they got in their cars and left for the boss. But they didn't know about the fact that Sun had hid and latched onto the bottom of the car. After a while they went to the boss and told him about the situation, but he was very angry with them. He said he was paying them a lot of money, and not even a hair fell off the overlord's head. Killer apologized to him for that. He was overconfident and thought he could handle him alone. He asked for another chance and he would definitely do his errand and eliminate the overlord. The boss told them that he was sailing out on his liner in 3 days and if they hadn't resolved the overlord issue by then he will settle the matter with them. The guy said that they need to work out the whole plan as much as possible and they no longer have the right to make a mistake. The girl offered to settle the matter with the Lord's girlfriend. At this time Sun was watching their conversation and recognized their boss. His name is Kalen Wilson. 7 years ago he lost a big sum of money to the Lord at the races in New York, which caused him to lose 3 fingers. Many years have passed and he is still trying to get revenge. After a while Sun called his girlfriend. She was not expecting his call and asked why he was calling her so late. He asked her if she wanted to go on a cruise. After a while Sun and Jing were in a 5-star hotel. She saw the view from the hotel and was incredibly happy. She asked him how he found this place, because it was so beautiful. Sun replied that it was nothing special and there are many places in the world much more beautiful than this. He hugged her and said they could go wherever she wanted to go and then he kissed her. She was very happy to be near him. She said she was going to take a shower and then go straight to the beach. Sun was hungry and asked her if she wanted to eat first before going to the beach. He saw her silhouette and thought, why did he become so noble? After a while he sat down to eat, but before doing so he called the bodyguard and asked what the situation was like at home. Lu told him that they were managing to lead them around so far. They hadn't noticed him leave and they thought he was still in the office. Lu said he had nothing to worry about and they would detain them. Sun thought, while the hitman was following his double. Kalen Wilson has no idea that he's already turned from hunter to prey, and if his information is correct, Wilson's liner will arrive by tonight. Suddenly a girl named Yujo comes up to him and asks him if she can sit down with him. No empty tables. Sun let her sit at his table and all the guys and men were surprised by her beauty. Yuzo thought, since she sat next to him and he didn't even look at her once, she assumed that he's just shy. Or maybe he's playing hard to get and thinks he can make her interested in him. But suddenly Sun got up and left. He didn't understand why he didn't even look at her. She thought, is she in his eyes completely unattractive? That time a luxury liner arrived at the place where Sun was. All the people were surprised as they had never seen such luxury yachts before. Sun was happy about it as he had been waiting for this liner with Kalen Wilson in it for a long time. Sun disguised himself so no one would recognize him and told his girlfriend that they were about to go up to this fancy liner. Jing asked him if they could go up on it.